Alrighty, I think we are live. I'm playing in the background here for a second. Let me shut that off.
Huh?
Yep, there we go. We got sound. Thank God. Okay, so I want to do one more thing. I just want to get a link in case I invite you. Links. There we go. Jeez. That's not helpful. Oh, there. Invite people. Jeez. All right. Clues. All right. Here is the join link if you want to pop in and just talk to me that way. Seems a lot easier, I think. I'm going to try out this Hangouts on Air thing. We're going to see how it goes. I have figured out how to run SEO this week using YouTube Live and Wirecast. And then I can do interviews with people through Skype, which kind of saves them the drama of having to figure out YouTube and the crap that I go through. Like I tried to open in Firefox and it wouldn't play. That's why I'm a couple minutes late. So, but we'll see how it goes. If we can keep the chat thing going, that might actually work too. So without further ado, I'm going to go ahead and get started. SEO this week. Hey everyone, welcome to episode 101 of SEO this week. My name is Clint Butler. I'm the owner of digitalear.com and also the head of SEO for overthetopseo.com. If you want some work done, come check us out. And that's the end of my sales pitch. What we're going to do is bring back the SEO this week show. I've had a lot of requests and I was on some other live shows, etc. But the downside of doing that much YouTube during the week is, one, I got really buried in work, and two, is just lacking original things to talk about. So we tried the whole let's build a course thing, etc., build a website. That worked, but I think that would be a better format if I do that as a course. One, better for me because I'm a greedy capitalist, and two, I can actually sit down and plan that stuff out. And then maybe do some YouTube or some webinars around it, etc., to ask questions in a model that people are actually going to learn from and invest in, so they're going to keep coming back over and over again. So I killed that roofing site that we were building back in August, and we're going to rebuild it as part of a training course. I'm going to let some people in and they'll kind of follow along with me because I teach better when I'm talking to someone. Does that make sense? But some of it will also be videos. So that's going to be really cool. So if you're looking for that for SEO this week, you're not going to get that. What we are going to do is go back to doing the news stories, which I think are very important because there's a lot of people that are spending some time filtering through all the stuff and all the crap and kind of helping you out in their blogs. And it's unique, high-quality content for our market, as it were. On top of that, it just saves you the time for having to do it yourself. This week, we're a little light. I kind of did it on purpose just because I want to get back in the swing of things. I don't want to, do the posts and all that other madness. And then we're also going to add a new segment called This Week's Tip. This week, we're going to go over something that is really handy in Ahrefs to just help you out with your link building efforts. Otherwise, and then, as we build that up more, hopefully we'll get some better tips or find some better tips. The guests will bring a tip. I think that's going to be great. So we get a note from Steve Buchanan, which is another cool feature we're bringing in, is you can actually talk to me during the show. That helps me out a lot more, actually. It just keeps me engaged with you. So, and his comment was, time is perfect. So I hope that this time works out better. What I noticed with the Friday show, I just wasn't getting a whole lot of growth as to live viewers, and as such, my conversations I was getting to have were down. Probably because everyone's wrapping up on Fridays and doesn't want to work, and then Tuesdays, well, Mondays, no one wants to be there anyway, and then Tuesdays, it just seems like a good they've got the crap for Monday taken care of. It's almost lunchtime on Tuesday. Let's close it out with this, and then restart our week. So I think that'll work out pretty good. So that's the plan anyway. That's well, the best laid plans and how that goes. So with that, I'm going to go ahead and get started on going through some of the blog posts that I picked out. Again, I only picked out 3, well, actually 4, and that will be useful to you throughout the week. Just kind of look at, configure, and if you're advanced SEO, then this is something that will help you just kind of re-trigger the memory and make you go back and look back at some of that stuff. And the first one is the post by Matt Diggity. Actually, I'm going to do that one next. I want to do this one first. Search algo update around the January 6th. Now, I was hoping to have Ted on board for this call for this show. But again, I didn't want to jump in too crazy for the first episode back. I haven't published one of these things since August, so I got to figure out editing and all that stuff too. So I don't want to waste Ted's time. But there was supposedly an update around January 6th. Now, I didn't see any negative movement or a significant positive movement from that, but typically I don't see that. My rankings, for the most part, always stay relatively consistent through all these updates just because of our heavy focus on on-page. So I think this is something you guys can look at. The benefit of having a tool like Quora is you can run a whole bunch of searches and then compare from before and after. We're actually creating an automation tool for Quora where I can give it a list of 100 keywords. For example, you're in the weight loss market, and you have 100 keywords that you'll pull once a month. Keep those reports, and then when something like this comes out, you can just you have your pull from before, you do your pull after, and you'll see what changed, and you'll be like, oh, okay. So that's, and as you know, if you're a follower of Quora, SEO is keyword by keyword now, niche, keyword, everything's different. So that would be really good to have, especially if you're in one market. You just run that same list of 100 keywords over and over again. If you're in our case, with the 2 agencies, we're in quite a few markets, so we'll be running, that tool, that automation tool that I'm creating almost nonstop, just to make sure that we get all of our words. And then Ted is adding another aspect of the Quora software where whatever I'm running, that's information, permission-based, obviously, will get pushed to Ted. The keyword and the factors will get pushed to Ted, and he's correlating all of that stuff that all of his users are doing. And his end goal is to be able to say, these are the primary factors that changed in this market. Or not specifically that keyword, but maybe niche by niche. I think you'll be able to break it down that way, just to give those people who don't want to run 100 or 200 reports a nice leg of data to at least start going by. Especially if you see traffic losses, that'd be really helpful for you, I think, and it's going to be helpful for me. So that's the January 6th update. There's no indication in this post, in the follow-ups or in the comments, as to what they think they might have changed. A lot of this is talking about people getting increases. What I like to worry about when people talk about, the update and I got all kinds of increases, is the rollback that comes about 2 months from now. And they are all crying that they lost all their rankings that they got in this one. So it could be a test thing that's going on. So I wouldn't get too excited about the rankings yet. Wait till the next update. If everything's stuck, then you did the right thing, especially if you don't have any data from Quora. Also, don't go in there and start changing things right now. They did it supposedly on the 6th. If they messed up something a whole lot, then that might turn into a really quick rollback, and you don't want to be changing things based on that. So let everything settle and then see where you're going. Okay, TDIF for SEO, search results comparison tool. Diggity said he was in his post that he's been testing this for a year. He's kind of excited about it, and I think I've been using this for TDIF for quite a while, much longer than a year. But I don't back then I really wasn't a let's set up test sites and all that madness. One, because I wasn't in the position to do it, and two, I just didn't have the time. But I used both of the tools, and I actually still currently use one of the tools that he lists in here. So let's see, it was text. That's cool. Text tools. I've used that. It was actually pretty cool. I just hated the UI, to be completely honest. It was kind of a pain. You know, if I wanted to update and use the real-time updates in there, I had to copy paste all the content out of my web page, and then put it in there, and then add it, and then figure out where in that content I just added that to get that applied to the site. And it was just annoying, and I hated doing it that way. So if I had to do it that way, then why don't I just use the software? And then that software that he mentioned is one I've been using since they implemented the tool and implemented TDIF into it, is the website auditor tool. And you can see that right here. That's this one right here. It's a software. It's Java based. They're kind of memory hungry. So if you have an older computer, you don't want to put this thing on there. Or you can, just don't have more than one project open at a time. Sometimes I've been known to have 10, 15, 20 projects open in this thing, and it'll eat my Mac alive. So just make sure, just for your own sanity, just trust me, do one project at a time. You can open and save them. If you have some of the automatic stuff set up in here, typically, I wouldn't recommend doing it with Website Auditor. You can with the rank tracker. Just have one or two projects open. There is a caveat to this. This thing is awesome when it's working. As of the time of this recording, the stupid program doesn't even work. It's not bringing in the competitors' information into the software, so it's not comparing for the TDIF tool. But that said, the rest of the tool actually works pretty good, and the support is rather responsive. They'll at least tell you if it's a known bug, and then when they plan on pushing the next update. When they have known bugs like that, the updates come relatively quickly. But don't expect things like them to bend to your will if you want it. They have their own little ranking tool for PR. Their quota, it's a PR version essentially. But you're like me and you want to use Ahrefs DR. They won't, under no circumstances will they hook up the API to it for whatever reason. They're just not interested. But other than that, I think this tool is actually really good when it's working. So don't go out and buy it right now. Hit me up on one of the social channels. Let me know ask me if it's working again before you pay for it, because it is pretty expensive. And if you want to bounce around and you want to try the whole suite, there's a whole suite of this. And if you get it right now, it's actually rather expensive. But you wait till Christmas time to try the whole suite, and you get it for like 63% off, 65% off is when they start. So that's when I bought the whole suite, and then you pay for the updates as you go. You can do yearly, bi-yearly, or whatever you want on that. Those are kind of expensive depending on how long you bring them out, and software licenses, etc. So, but I think they're well worth it. All right, next one is the use of CDNs. So this article, you'll be able to find all these links on the page, by the way, once I set it all up, and I'll put a link into the show descriptions. This article is kind of taking CDNs beyond what we all think about as a place to host your images, right? You host your images and your videos on CDNs. It makes your site faster. You use Cloudflare, and that copies your entire site and essentially distributes it from different server bases for the free package, and that makes it site faster. You can upgrade to the added distribution, which is even more, and that leverages Google, and it'll serve up your site from regions that are even closer to the user, thus making your site faster for them. This is actually looking into how to kind of implement some things for your SEO within your CDN. So there's a couple caveats here. One is they're talking about using Cloudflare. solutions to do your redirects, I would caution you before you kind of take something like that on. Not because it's complicated, but it kind of locks you into the Cloudflare now for like ever, for the life of your site, unless you just stop caring about the redirects and you just kill it. But if it's something you care about and it's going to be long term and you're doing your redirects on Cloudflare and you're going to pay to have the rules, or you're going to use that Cloudflare Workers implementation, once you do it there, you're kind of stuck, and then you're going to have, if you want to get rid of Cloudflare for whatever reason, you're going to have to go back and do it all over again. So just know that. Same with implementing the href tags, etc., within your CDN. What I like about using CDN is mainly the image stuff. So the images and the videos are the biggest pieces of your web page for the most part. So you should be using a CDN of some type. I am actually going to, as part of the course, I'm going to hook up WP Rocket to Amazon S3 and show you how to do that. The last time I did it, there's also a caveat. The last time I did it, it wasn't like 2 weeks later that Amazon S3 had that big old crash, and they were down for like a day. And it took down my entire website because all of my images and my website's really image heavy are on Amazon S3 or were, so I took it all off. But I was loading at 900 milliseconds. Versus right now where the site's loading at 1.1 to 1.8 seconds, which is still respectable. It's still a good speed, but 900 milliseconds is better, right? So especially when you sell WordPress speed optimization services, and you know the clown is always going to go in there and go, look how slow your site is. Obviously you don't know what you're doing. Well, obviously you don't know how to use PageSpeed tools, but that's okay. So we avoid that by just making the site faster and putting a little bit more effort into it. And we're going to do that. So we're going to have two CDNs. We'll have Cloudflare, and we'll also have Amazon S3 to double down, and it'll speed up our site a whole lot. One other thing I'm probably going to do too is move back to Liquid Web. I moved to SiteGround. The pricing is a little bit cheaper on SiteGround, but it just doesn't work for me. It's just every aspect of the move is slow. Time is first byte is slow. But there are some other features in there that are good. But yeah, it's, the money that I was saving being on SiteGround is probably not worth to me the level of support and the frankly, the much better servers that they had over at Liquid Web. So I'm probably going to move back, which will also be a great conversation for an SEO This Week episode, tips on moving your website. And for me, when I do that, though, it's going to be pretty easy. I'm going to say, hey, Liquid Web, here's my sites. Go you move them off SiteGround for me, and then ta-da, everything will work. So. All right, let's see. I'm going to stop for questions real quick. Hi, Clint. I started using CDN. Do you recommend actually hosting the images on a CDN and linking to them rather than caching them with the CDN? When I do that CDN setup, I set it up on S3 and it pulls off through S3 using WP Rocket. Now, you said you're using WPX hosting. I've used it before. I used it when they launched it, and yes, they are great at speed. Essentially, what you have there is Amazon hosting. All of their quote-unquote servers are all on Amazon, and they're just selling you the setup. Excuse me for a second. I had to cough. So they're hosting them on Amazon, and then they're selling you the setup. So they are pretty fast. And the downside for me was I do page speed optimization for a living, and I had my site as fast as I wanted it to be. It was set up how I wanted it to be, and then those clowns went in there into my dashboard through their backend and changed all my settings to what they thought was the fastest optimization and made my site actually slower. So they did that 3 times. The third time was after I even asked them not to do that anymore. So I left them, and I no longer recommend them. So any host that can go in there and just change your sites and are cool doing that, changing your sites without your permission is just not, that's not for me. I'm not going to put an asset that I care about on there. regardless if you're trying to help me out or not. That's just not done. You know what I mean? So that's why I don't use WPX hosting or recommend it to anyone anymore. But yeah, so put your images. If you're going to use a full CDN like Amazon S3 or Max CDN or whatever, have your images served from there. That's the point of using them. And that just makes it better for you. Alrighty, now I gotta go back to the screen. Let me use this view too, so it's up here. Fancy. All right, so let's see what the other one that was interesting. URL rewriting page rules. I wasn't really too bad at it. Messed with that. And then HTTPS. That's kind of, that's all right. One of the things you will have to worry about is making sure your CDN serves up in HTTPS, or else you'll get that funny rule in your browser saying not secure, or some elements are not secure. But that's really easy to handle too. And so this is a really good post. It's kind of technical. Just look over at some of it to see what it applies to you, and just test it out. I'm sure all of this stuff is coming with some with a grain of salt, and like mobile optimization. We all know that if you have that done right, it's better for you, right? So it's only implied, that doing it with a CDN optimization is going to increase your rankings. Well, doing it at all is going to increase your rankings. So, and I'm not in the advocacy of doing a lot of this stuff on your CDN, because it should be done on your website, on your server, because it's yours. Again, your CDN dies, you're screwed. So, when the S3 went out, I save all my images. It automatically saves to my server anyway. And then when S3 died, I just turned off the CDN, and all my images were back. So I didn't have to, reload all that stuff. This is kind of the same thing. That CDN dies, all that stuff's gone, and you're out of luck. You got to redo it again on your website anyway. So some of the stuff I would just say, look at it and see if it's worth it to you. If you want to implement. And Whiteboard Friday, you guys know from last time, I was actually really a good proponent of sending these off, because some of them are actually good if you pay attention to some of the things. But I also like to get these, kind of get, I'll get ideas off of here and then poke Kyle Roof and be like, look, Moz says you're stupid. And he'll go out and test some of this stuff just to shut me up. So, this is a good opportunity to kind of do that yourself, is taking these Whiteboard Fridays and turn them into testing. So one thing I like here is this Cameron Jenkins. I'm sure she's probably the one presenting it. I didn't even read through the author. Let's see. Nope, Brittany Mueller. Yeah, Brittany Mueller shares. And then there's best tips from this Cameron Jenkins person. But if you see, find the top 3 ranking URLs, compare them using the Moz Keyword Explorer, 5 view keywords at 3 URLs rank for, and then optimize the page. That's all fine and dandy. That's actually, it might actually be a good idea to try it out. You can use that, certainly use SEMrush. I'm not a Moz fan. I probably will never give them my money again until they start stepping up their game a little bit more. But we will see how that turns out. But again, that's a good tip. So how do we test that? We can test that in a live environment, or we can try to test it in a single variable environment. I think it's going to be a lot harder in a single variable, but this is something that you can apply, this tip here, and apply that to Ahrefs or SEMrush for that matter. Do a compare URL for the top 3, see what they're all ranking for, and then optimize your page for those couple of keywords. I will say that I am not a proponent of changing the optimization for multiple terms. Or just do that through backlinking, and you do that through your anchor text. But test it, see if it works for you. That's a good one. Another stuff is, they're kind of reiterating some of the things that are going on here. In particular, is commonly asked questions, answer the public, and the previously asked questions boxes that are in the search results. I use those a lot, in particular that box right there to do our content calendars. It just helps kind of pick out for what you're doing for your clients. And particularly, let's go CBD oil for dogs. Let's say you're into that, and then you just use these people also ask box. I have software that go through and pull all these out, and it'll give me the question and the answer, and then I turn that into Google Posts for that particular client. That's something that you can do, or you can just go find a question, get the answer, put that in a content calendar, drop that to your content team or your client if they're writing the content for you, and then it's already done. Let's see. Drop that link there for you for the CDN thing. Just a reminder, I'll put these in the same format like I did before. I'll put it on SEO This Week on the blog, and then all links will be there too. So hopefully I'll get that done today. And then see, let's go back to this one more time. There was one other thing I wanted to point out. It was schema. And I was reading through this, I was going through it, I was going through it some more. And unless I'm clearly blind, they don't talk about schema except for right here. Just one little tiny, is it bot accessible schema markup. Schema is going to be crazy important right here. Schema is going to be crazy important. It already is important, but it's going to get even more crazy important as Google gets smarter and smarter and reduces the value of links. They will never, in my humble opinion, get rid of links because the original search engines were based off of content and optimized content. Google made a better search engine by using links as a ranking factor. And then they refined and made the content stuff better. As that continues to progress more, the on-page stuff will get heavier and heavier, but links will always be there. And that's where that schema markup comes in. So if you're not focusing on schema for your on-page, you are screwing up. Learn about the authors for articles, learn about image schema, video schema, learn about local business schema. If you're into local business, if you're an affiliate, learn about doing product schema and how to implement that and how to take advantage of all of the aspects that go along with it. If you don't know anything about entities, learn about entities. I'll pass on some information to you. I'm actually, I'm a consistent learner, so I even joined Jimmy Kelly's latest course is Entity Establishment. And that one is talking about some of the things that he's learned, or as people have learned about how to write that schema in such a way to establish that entity better, thus making your site rank higher because you're more trusted and your authority's higher, right? And then you apply that to your links and the sites where you're getting links from. So if you're building a PBN, you establish the entities for those PBNs before you turn them into backlinks. Or backlink providers. Thus, that site has more authority now. It's more trusted. It's passing you now better link juice. So, again, links, you don't have to build so many of them because you're building much better links, which works out. So, that's part of the schema stuff. So, I check that out. Look in schema markup. I'm not sure that Jimmy's still selling the entity established thing class anymore, but you can just look at courses at jimmykelly.com. I think it's what it is. Yeah, I'll have to look it up. If you want it, just let me know. Or just look for Jimmy Kelly Entity Establishment course, and you should be able to find it. But that's closing here pretty soon, but it's really top-level, heady stuff. So if you're a course jumper who likes actionable, do this, done. Do this, done. Jimmy Kelly's teaching method is not for you. You're going to get the who, what, when, where, and why before you get the how. And that's just kind of how that works out. One thing I want to note here is notice how they put their image on I Am Gur, which is actually pretty interesting. That a SEO company wouldn't kind of optimize this a little bit better. What is the title of the picture? All that stuff. Unless I'm missing something from I Am Gur, yeah, see, that stuff's there. So why wasn't the picture optimized? Then you get some added benefit. You're sending all that traffic to I Am Gur. I Am Gur is in turn giving you a backlink to your website, or at least showing you some related stuff. You get some power from that. So it's kind of weird that wasn't done. I even cross-shared it with my users right here and linked to both. And then you have an authoritative or a higher quality site linking to another site. So kind of pass that juice along. That would have been interesting. All right. So what I wanted to talk about was the tip of the week. And this is from Ahrefs. I'm an Ahrefs fanboy. I like them more and more and more. So what we're going to do is find a website that I want to backlink off of. Let's go with local SEO, just because we're going to search everywhere. And then I want to get rid of the non-English sites. And I want a backlink from Search Engine Journal. Wouldn't that be cool to get a backlink from Search Engine Journal? Well, you can just write for them and tell, there you go, or find someone like Bill Hartzer. Yeah, there you know. So what I want to do is, let's say I got access to them and they are going to give me a backlink anywhere, or I want to do outreach and I want to say, hey, this article is bad and I've written a better one for you. What you want to do is go to your dashboard in here and you're going to drop in the website you're looking for. So in this case, we're looking at Search Engine Journal. And if you're on the live chat, let me know if it's a little too small for you. I can zoom in a little bit. As a matter of fact, I'm just going to indent it. Imply that you are. There you go. And then you go to pages right here. Pages, Best Buy links. Best Buy growth works for this too. I just like Best Buy links. It's already got the backlink. It's already got the power, right? And then you go over and it brings up the report. Now, the next thing you want to do is kind of filter. So you get really a couple options. You can start going in here and go through the search results. And then I want to, in results, let's say ranking factors. See if this works. There you go. So I have all their posts about ranking factors. If you're a member of OMG, you'll kind of recognize what I'm doing. It's called reverse sink or swim. Basically, any backlink that has your keywords in the title and the URL is much better than a backlink that doesn't have that. So I've filtered one section now. All these pages are potential backlink sources for me. They're all related to the ranking factors keyword that I chosen in URL and title, and they all have backlinks, right? Now, in my next filter is actually, you kind of have to do this one on your own. So what you can do is either export this list or just stick in here. What you look for is referring domains, anything over 20. So everything down here is useless to me. I don't want any pages links from here because I want referring domains over 20. Some of these might be good, don't get me wrong, but if I have to sniper and I'm picking one, then I want to go anything over 20. And then look at the do follow backlinks. These are the ones passing juice. So this page has less referring domains, but it has more do follow backlinks. So it's probably the one that I'm going to go after. So we're going to ask for a link from this page right here. And then when we do our outreach, we can go in there and say, hey, I saw your article, 11 things you must know about ranking factors. Looks like it hasn't been updated. And I thought that since it's 2019, it'd be a perfect time to do that. How about writing, in this section in the HTTPS is a ranking factor? I think it's already, conceived. We can replace that with is page speed a ranking factor, assuming that's not in here, but it probably isn't because, page speed isn't become the sexy thing. Let's see, user tag. Yep, see, it's not in there. So you replace HTTPS with page speed, and now you get a backlink. So that's my tip of the day: how to use this best pages by backlinks. So hopefully you guys don't have any questions on that. If you do, leave them in the chat bar. I think that's going to be it, unless the visitors have it. What the next part of this following of the show will be live site audits. We'll do one or two, probably just one. So if you have a site you would like us to audit during SEO this week, and when I say us, it'll be me for sure. And then if I have a guest come on, I'll give the link to them in advance. They can look at it, and then we'll look at your website. And as part of our show, so we'll do one or two depending on the amount of websites and submissions we get each week. So that will be the new format. Hope you like it. Again, just to recap, SEO this week will be news stories, then tip, and then site audits. That way, there's a little bit for everybody. We're learning, and we're also getting updated on news, and we're finding some cool little hacks. And that's, this hack here is mine for this week. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'd like to say thank you very much for coming on live if you're here, and thank you for watching SEO this week. Make sure that you subscribe and use the little bell so you get notifications when I come on. Otherwise, just know Tuesdays 11 a.m. Mountain Standard Time is the new time of the show, and thank you very much.